Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Cumberland School Committee meeting budget workshop today, Thursday, June 5th, 2025, at the Cumberland High School Transitional Building at 5:31 p.m. Can I have an approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Feather. Second by Ms. Shea. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Discussion here, vote to approve amended fiscal year 26 but school budget. Dr. Thornton, Mr. McGrath?
Sure, I can start to give it to Tim. So as you know, the town did approve in addition of $820,000. So leaves a gap of $432,749. In a minute, we'll talk about what we are recommending for that. Before I do that, I would tell you also last week we were operating under the idea that federal grants would come in pretty much as is. That was what we were seeing. By now, usually the grants are in. We have Title I, IDA, all the numbers, but for the Fed right now with what they're doing, we just don't have them all. But I had a Tuesday morning meeting with the superintendent statewide, and there's talk of the federal government zeroing out Titles II and Title III. Title III is MLL, Title II, a lot of work that Tony does in the district. So we don't know yet, so we can't act on it yet. It just doesn't, it's not a thing yet, but it's around $300,000. I will tell you, if it happened, we'd adjust in July or August. It wouldn't be personnel at that point. It'd be stuff. It'd be fund balance. It'd be something else. But we just don't know. We can't act on what hasn't happened yet, right? But that was Tuesday morning. We got that. So having said that, before I get to Tim, just the current thinking, as you know, we have 1.2 of fund balance already in this budget, right? We have the one job, which we'd recommend you not fill, the high school special education job. And also, Tim will cover it. We've got $166,000 of one-time expenditures that we would plug in here. Not great, adds to your structural deficit. 1.2 is now 1.366, right? So I'll Tim explain what that is. So that's pretty much it. So Tim, you want to go over the details?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Thornton. So in you received the budget summary, the budget detail, and then the sheet that kind of breaks down what the changes are. Those tie out to the last column, which is the change from the school committee approved to what we're presenting tonight. And then so I kind of put a high level detail together. You'll see the object codes there. Like Dr. Thornton said, we're recommending the cut to the high school special ed. As we're closing out this year's Title I funds and IDEA, there's some rollover funds that we need to use up. So that's the $78,000 that Dr. Thornton referred to, plus the IDEA of $34,000. We're also going to transfer Lexia out of the general fund and into title. And then we're cutting some Chromebook parts, the high school computer lab, and then in my original budget, I had an estimate for what the property insurance was going to be. Luckily, due to our efforts to try and keep a cap on that, there's a $12,000 savings there when I actually got the actuals from the trust. So we're able to cut that down. And then looking at the Medicare and the tuition payments, I'm comfortable grossing those up a little bit by $30,000. We're seeing the Medicaid payments come in about $25,000 higher than where I initially budgeted. So I'm comfortable adding that revenue in, and that kind of rounds out how we close the gap on the $400,000.
One more thing I won't forget. We also, a while back, we had some coaching money in the grants, right? And Tony, can you explain how that works and what we're doing now?
Sure. So because there was talks of potentially cutting grant funding, we couldn't in good conscience run with those positions. There were two coaching jobs, one that was in Title II and one that was in Title I. The Title II position was stationed at Garvin. The Title I position was stationed at BF Norton. Because of that forecast and cutting of the federal funds, we were forced to eliminate those two coaching positions in anticipation that grant money wouldn't come in. We couldn't in good faith do that and then add to the structural deficit without us knowing. And so with what Dr. Thornton just shared just now, we haven't even received Title II money. We usually get it in February. It's June. So that was a good call on the superintendent's part for cutting those two jobs in lieu of not having that money.
do we have any idea of when we're going to find out about Title II and III funding, or is it just like in a holding pattern and we're just waiting?
It's a brave new world, I'd say by July 1, but this is really unprecedented not to have.
Okay, so this is unheard of almost in your experience. And that's about 300, and now if we receive that money, would those two jobs then come back?
We could in theory bring some jobs back, yes. Thing is, after July 1, they would be in the system, it's a 1 year only, it's not a permanent position
Okay,
for the contract.
thank you. Listener?
Dr. Thornton, can you tell us the impact on all of these cuts, the special education one at the high school, the two coaches that you just discussed? What is the impact in the classroom sizes, students?
Right. I'll do the special ed one, I'll let Tony do the coaching. Special ed right now, numbers are fluctuating, so we do have a need, whether it's gonna be at the high school or another program. We have a special ed need K-12, so we're gonna have to figure it out. I can't tell you right now the exact impact till the dust settles, but we do have an impact for special ed in terms of numbers. Right now, the high school program is smaller, so that job may have lived at the high school, may have also migrated to another building, but we have a need, so it's gonna be a challenge. The coaching,
Projection now is the same number of students, projection is larger number
At
of
the high
students from what you're looking
high
at?
school, they were coming in a little lower as of last week, so we have to see how that kind of shakes out. Coaches are a different story.
Thank you.
So the two coaches that we just spoke about in the federal grant monies, that does have a big impact. If you think back a few months prior, RIDE was funding two additional coaches that we had, that funding went away, and so my office took a hit of four coaches. One math and 3 that serve ELA. And so there's no student to student necessarily face-to-face impact. What that impacts though is our ability to support teaching and learning in the classrooms with teachers. It allows us to work on when new teachers come into the position, if they move to different grade levels, we have coaches on the ground that are helping to help us in central office understand what's happening with the curriculum. And so they're very, very important positions. They help us with school-wide data. In particular, the two coaches that you're talking about tonight, they were placed, if you heard me say Garvin and BF Norton, they were placed there for a reason, right? And so it was specifically tied to supporting those schools because we wanted to, get their scores up.
And is one of those at BF Norton the language
ELA.
course? Yeah, but are they also the translator and one that we use quite a bit with paperwork or parents or anything like that?
No,
No, so it's just strictly for teaching.
yeah, that was, I believe, an MLL position. Yeah.
That's back in.
And then if I may ask just one more.
Of course.
So last year we added some positions in, half a position in different schools. We added those things to the budget, but I'm guessing that these were not the coaches. This was just strictly MLL. Or,
Last year, you added something
Title I.
else, and it wasn't this.
okay,
Yeah, the coaches have been
Title I.
protected by the grants for over 5 years. We never had this issue, but the sudden lack of federal
Right.
funding created this.
and is your team gonna go out and try to look for more grants?
We'll certainly try if the money's there. Sure, certainly.
Thank you.
It could be the grant money comes in a week or two, right? Just all of a sudden they change new position at the Fed and then we get the money.
Any other questions? This might sound like a weird question, but what has been done by the state of Rhode Island and other states to see where the money is? Like, do they have someone like a liaison that they speak to find out? Because it's very hard for you all to do a budget and forecast out your finances with thinking you have money that's not there, that you've always, I understand it's unprecedented times, but do we have any?
The superintendents talk to the commissioner in monthly meetings. She has meetings nationally. It's just like I said, yeah, it's a very odd time. We really can't think back to this kind of dynamic right now.
Okay.
In schools.
So you have nothing to actually go with
No.
prior?
In terms of the titles and IDEA, RIDE sent out last week kind of this is an estimated allocation, but even that was kind of an estimate from what I understood. It wasn't definite, so. we're kind
Within
of
your experience, it's usually been definite by this.
Yeah,
time.
we were usually done in a opinion by, when was it, Tony, like May usually? Usually by February, we know what the money is, usually we submit everything by April, by May, we're kind of locked in, so
Exactly.
to not even know what the allocation is at this point is
you have to meet with private schools
Right.
because they get an allocation, they get a percentage of our money. None of that has happened.
Scary.
Very scary.
I would just say, going to next year, just give you context, as you know. We fight another day, we pass some budget, we move forward. Next year, the deficit to start with will be like, say, 1.5 million, right? Raise next year, I believe it's 4%, so you factor that, and that's kind of our starting point next year. Once again, we have fund balance next year to use, if you play that card, that's the last time we can use that.
Because then we will be
Then we'd be on.
money,
We'll be under the amount we could use for fund balance, so
and that is after next year.
27, 28 is the year, we're gonna have to figure something out.
We're depleting our fund balance with this year, and then if we dip into it next year.
Right, just to review, it was 5 change, we used 2.2 this year we're finishing. 1.2 for this next year, right, down to 2 change. You could use 1.2 again next year in theory for the year 26, 27. That'd leave you $800,000 in fund balance, really, you're down to below.
Any other questions from any committee members? I appreciate you guys telling us what's gonna happen and what could happen, so we are not surprised for next year, understanding eyes wide open of what could actually occur. So. Anyone else have any other questions? Oh,
Especially, what is the up to clinical support, that 14K? We talked about.
Yeah, so that is a subcontractor that special services uses. We grossed it up a little bit going into this year. With the potential need, we kind of wound it back a little bit. Just the area of something we could try to put that.
Maybe one bright spot, we're not done yet till we're, audited. We have 2.2 budgeted fund balance for the year we're in. It could be we come in under that. We have some faculty that were out unpaid, different things. If they trend the right way, you could break the right way, maybe get a couple $100,000 to the good to put back in the.
what's that called, breakage? Right there.
Yeah, breakage, it's the open position. Then we have POs that are open right now
Okay.
that as we finish out the year, we close those out. There could be available funds there as we, I'm working through that right now. So we should know that at the beginning of July. Once the big thing will be once we get to the next payroll, that basically kind of finishes out the year. So that 2 weeks from now, we'll have to.
I think the clinical piece, just kind of like to think about where it might be grounded in what we can understand. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that like when we pay like Dr. Oswicki or whatever?
Yes, yep.
Perfect, so when we're paying for some of those tests and everything. Thank you.
Anyone else on the committee have any other questions? Yes.
So, there are, I just wanna, for my miss, just be clear, so vacancies that we have. Those are going to remain, they're not cuts, they're vacant, so they could still be,
Yes, yes.
they could still be hired into.
The CTA goes through what's called the matrix, kind of like a job fair, multiple rounds. It's electronic and that all those get posted. And then if they're available at the end, they go out.
And if we, for some reason, do have more money after you do find this fund money somewhere. I'm assuming that would all go to personnel and helping with coaching. It would not go to things, it would go to people.
We'll come back to you in July. We have the July 17th, our
Okay.
meeting, right? And first, maybe by then we'd know if the Fed cut Title II, Title III. We save some money, maybe that's an offset for the Title II, Title III problem.
Yeah, normally we come back in we come back in the middle of July because the state we don't even have the state. We have an estimate of the state aid number. Maybe that comes in higher. We've seen that in the last couple of years. Not expecting that, but we will come back after that because there's a lot of pieces up in the air. But yeah, we need to have this budget approved so that the matrix can go forward with these positions.
Yes.
That's actually a good point too, that you just brought up. And you met with the state. I don't know if the commissioner has said anything, but if we have an issue with Title II and Title III, what's the state doing for the contingency to assist the districts?
There is none, it's federal money.
So they're not going to look to help us out in any way to help bridge that. They're not putting it into the budget. They're not talking to the governor. They're not looking at any potential.
It's Donald Trump, it's federal.
No, I understand it's federal, but if it doesn't come in, they know it's gonna impact every school district. I'm just wondering what the
Yep.
state has been saying on their side about, are they trying to find a solution to assist us?
They're certainly advocating, but there is no money at the state to plug the hole. As bad as it is for us, 300,000, it's much bigger in places like Providence, Pawtucket.
Right.
Because they have their own shortfall at the state level.
I mean, you said 2% is.
Yeah, probably do need to start, lobbying our representatives.
This budget hasn't been approved yet at the General Assembly level, and we've got to look at that before June 30th. Maybe they need to start to pay attention to see if there's any adjustments that they can put out there for contingent to help any districts.
At the state also, I think they have their own problems. I think it was Friday night newscast, right? But contract settled the state, so.
Yeah, no, I was talking about state.
You were talking about state, I was talking federal, I'm like, let's go to federal.
The federal
Like,
not gonna. it's
No,
not
I know,
gonna be any
I know,
difference,
they're
yeah.
looking at privatization, that's what they wanna do. It's fortunate for us.
Any other questions regarding the amended FY 26 school budget? Then there's, I'm sorry, is there any other?
I was just gonna motion to approve it.
Okay, motion by Ms. Levitt. Second by Ms. Shea, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Public comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around some of this. I realize this isn't conversational, but when you say the word coach.
I'm
you
so
don't
sorry.
mean coach.
One moment, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Two things, here, state your name, your address.
sorry, he said, he answered it. Oh, my name is Julie Vonderheim, my address.
Yep.
14 Katie Lane, Cumberland, Nevada.
So, and then you have 3 minutes to speak.
Oh.
And we don't respond normally.
Yeah.
But just so,
So it sounds like the coach from what he just answered is faculty coach, and then that would be integral for communication between the school, and that's disappointing that you're not gonna have, that's Title III and Title II funding. So in my job, I get to see a lot of different opportunity throughout the state in dealing with state contracts, which is, I can say overall, you probably shouldn't expect the money, because looking across the board at the state, they're not getting the money that they expect. So that would be disappointing for you, but I just want to shed light on, I'm not feds. I think that everyone's feeling the same and asking the same questions and feeling the same way. And that this is a new era and a new day and a new presidency and things are different. And that's maybe something you should just realize. But something that I'm looking at from a perspective as, I don't see a lot of this data that maybe you have, but when I'm looking at some of the documents that I asked someone that wants to come over here, Mr. McGrath for, and he was able to share with me, which is, I don't like looking at the documents, I feel like it might be redacted, because the previous plans were sent in 44 pages, and then this plan is sent in 10 pages to the town council, and he's provided more detailed information, and some of that information actually I saw. And I'm really surprised at the lot, all the line items. Have we gone through every line item? Have we looked at? And this is something that's not my job. I'm an observer of the public, but I was really surprised to see some of these teachers and their salaries. And I'm wondering who can go and who can stay if the coaches are that important. How closely should you look at it? Because you're not gonna get that federal money, you're just not. And I'm telling you because I see it where I work. And they're just not getting it, so you need to just discount that you're gonna get it. You can lobby all you want, but you have deadlines to support to turn things in. But that being said, I just wanna see how closely and how tight and I know you'll make an eagle scream on a quarter, you can really make this budget work. But do we need to have every single teacher that we have? And how important is it to take and move things around with respect to the coaches? These are the questions I ask, and I wonder, because I see my son at the high school, and there are way too many people that are involved with things that maybe they shouldn't be. And then you wonder, I'm 51, I grew up in a time where you had a principal and a vice principal. I don't know who all these deans are, who all these people are that are in charge, that the principal doesn't even have anything to do with it. So I'm wondering, should we balance things out a little bit better? I don't know where I'm at with my time. I realize that I'm over. So she's looking
you
at,
just did it, good job.
okay.
Thank you. Any other public comment from anyone else? Okay. With that being said, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Southern. Second by Ms. Shea, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. We adjourn this evening at 5:51 PM.